Hey all, it's time for another State of the Vanguard 2023 edition. I normally do these around every 6 months, but it's the end of the year, so we have to do another one, right? We have to do a big one, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. This year was a big year for Vanguard, in my opinion, but the next year is also going to be another crunch year for Vanguard, so I think, yeah, let's just kind of jump into it, right? So first off, let's talk about where the formats are at. I want to start off with Premium. Funnily enough, I think Premium is in the best place it's been, or like a better place than pretty much all the other formats. It is the best format right now for Vanguard. It wasn't in such a good place, right? We had that Mature running around, but with that gone and a bit of an Arakami hit, I think for Worlds, the format is wide open, right? I want to see what people bring. It should be pretty good. And overall, like, Premium has just been pretty well received for the whole year. And yeah, I feel like going forward with a nice Premium product that is happening in Japan. I mean, it's just like a trial deck. Not really a trial deck, but like a pre-constructed deck. I think Bushiroad is starting to, at least in the JP side, starting to invest more into this format, which only bodes well for Vanguard as a whole, really. So I think that's great. V Premium, on the other hand, I feel like, we get a lot of players for V Premium, especially in BCS. Springfest, not so much. We have that Tri-Regulation tournament coming next year. I do think with Shadowverse now part of the BCS crew, right? We need to... The writing is on the wall. And I know I've been saying the writing is on the wall for a while now. But at some point, V will kind of disappear. I think it's just inevitable, right? It's back then, when G-Era rotated, there was some G-Era tournaments, but that dropped off pretty quickly. V lasted way longer than that, right? But like the lack of product, the only thing we're getting is like the PRs, and those PRs can be played in Premium, so it's not really exactly V Premium promos. I feel like by the maybe next year at least, right, in BCS, where you have to cram in Shadowverse, then Vanguard, which like right now is 3 formats, and then a Weiss Schwartz. I don't know how that's gonna fit, right? So if one thing is gonna go, it's likely gonna be V. And I know there's a lot of players who play V in SCA, right? But for the rest of the world, it just seems like V is the format where people go to where they don't want to play Standard for BCS, because they want to qualify. And it's better to qualify for BCS with V than it is for Standard. And that's in the mind of a lot of players. And it's not all their fault, right? So let's talk about Standard, where Standard is at. I guess Standard's in a really good place when you look at it from a, people's perspective, right? When you look at tournament numbers, Standard is getting heaps and heaps of attendance. Anaheim got double blocks. Indonesia nearly hit double blocks. So in terms of that, it's really great. I guess the worry right now is that when you look at the people who pick, other formats over Standard to compete in, I guess that is the issue, right? A lot of the veteran players, when given that choice, right, they always pick the premium formats, even V Premium. And a lot of people have said how they don't like playing V Premium, but if they want to qualify Worlds, they pick V Premium. I think that's a problem. I made a video about this before, but I feel like in terms of gameplay-wise, it's not appealing to them. So it's not like you have to have a scenario where, Standard only appeals to new players because it's much more simpler. I think it can appeal to all players, right? Imagine all the other games out there with only one format. It has to appeal to everyone, right? So you can easily make... I feel like... Well, it's not going to be easy, but you can definitely make Standard appeal to all the players, regardless of, if you're an old player or a new player, or if you like, hard super combo style gameplay. I think it can attract everyone. So in terms of that, I feel like they can make the Standard gameplay better. Things like, making it slightly more difficult, right? Making it, there's more interaction, maybe more mechanics, which I think they're doing in Divine Z, which is good to see, right? It's good to see the game progressing, because I feel like overall our game for Standard has gotten more deterministic the longer the format has been alive, right? Right now, I think we're in its peak kind of power play, where everything is hyper strong. So hopefully when we get to Divine Z, there's more ways for players to showcase their skill, which will in turn just make more players migrate from the V Premium format. And if they were going to kind of not they're kind of like, I guess it only applies for us in the West because they don't really play V Premium in JP as much. But if they wanted to get rid of V Premium, then it should be a much more easy migration, I guess, into Standard. And yeah, I think that should be pretty good to see. I'm very, very hopeful for what Divine Z will bring. And, you know, whether it's gonna... It definitely should be good for the format. If it's not, then a lot of people are going to be saying, see you later. There's such a huge amount of TCGs that people can play. There's so many options. So it's not that Divine... I hope Divine Z is good. Divine Z has to be good, right? That's probably the big takeaway here. Let's have a quick talk about the anime. I know I'm not really an anime guy, right? Most of the people say it's kind of a joke by now. But I feel like the anime is looking pretty nice. When you look at, you know, everyone's hype about the anime, it's very, very cool to see. And I think the anime does have a position where it's like very, very important to the overall kind of landscape of Cardfight Vanguard as a as a franchise, as an IP. You look at all the big games out there, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, even One Piece. One Piece TCG is new, but One Piece, these are all hyper old franchises utilizing their IP and able to just like use that IP and push out product, right? Even what like Magic the Gathering, hyper old as well, right? To be honest, Vanguard is the new kid on the block, right? Our IP is barely 10 years, and it's gone through a bit of a tumultuous phase, I guess, at some points. So, you know, I think it's important that we get, you know, plays in here as well. And I guess looking, I think at the product stream as well, when the, you know, the anime was showing, there was like heaps of people watching that JP stream. And then when it started going to like the TCG stuff, there was like a loss in, there was like a bit of a drop in numbers. So I feel like, you know, the anime has its place. It's very, very important in the Vanguard IP. And I think that they're doing good, right? It's not just that the anime looks good, but there's other things that they're doing that I think, it's like the little things that not everyone sees. So things like the Korokoro serialization for Vanguard, you know, trying to bring kids into the game, that's very, very important, right? You know, we're all getting old, except me. But yeah, the general fan base of Vanguard is getting older and older, but you need new blood to keep the game alive. So I think the fact that they're focusing on kids, or moving more of a focus on kids and getting that kind of new blood into the game is very, very important and very cool. So hopefully they continue doing that. If you want to have an example, right? I think, you know, Buddy Fight, for example, in Singapore was huge simply because they pushed that product at schools and all that. So if we're able to hit that kind of, you know, target base, then, you know, I think we're doing well, right? I think we're doing well. So that's great. That's great. I hope the anime does it very, very well. Let's talk about products. I think products has been kind of iffy, bit of yikes in this area. There has been some pretty bad misses. So first off is the mask set. That wasn't very good, right? It's I think on paper it looked really nice. They're like, this is a crazy idea, but when is this gonna release? Way too late with too less, you know, stuff attached, right? I think with that set, if you're gonna do that, just plug in boosters, put in like 6 boosters, and people complain way less, right? How much was it? It was like $80 or like something like that. If you put in boosters with like the deck, you get a mat, you get like you know, dividers, you get the mask. I think with boosters, it's solved, right? No one complains. It's a decent product. It won't be like the best, but if you're looking for masks, then bam, grab that. You get 2 masks, get a bunch of booster packs that you might be able to crack even more from, but the retail value will just make up for the you know, half the cost, and just keep it the same, right? You just need to put boosters in literally everything, and I think, you know, you can actually make those products, and it'll just be like Pokemon, right? You know what, Pokemon? I want Charizard. Here's my Charizard. Here's my you know, case to hold the Charizard. Here's some packs. You're done, right? That's great. People don't complain. They got their Charizard. They got some packs. I think they just need to do that, and, you know, things like the mask sets in the future will be good, right? Also, I guess they did announce things like the start deck. The start deck is actually just, you know, big question marks, right? Big question mark. I think that translates not well in English, but it's something that English needs to also sell because JP is doing it. So I'm like half on the fence about that. I think it's not a great product, but it might be a great product for JP. Because then, again, kids, right? You just give a kid this deck. I feel like these decks are perfectly designed for kids. Like low amounts of money, very easy to play. Yeah, bam, let's go, right? And they're pretty much just giving these things out, right? So if you need triggers, if you need something like that, this is a very cheap product for you to get to start off the game. But then in English, we have to worry about other things, right? When I think about the global product scene, how am I going to ship this product to like places around the world? Is this even going to cover the costs of shipping? I feel like it's just going to be a big so I feel like there definitely needed to be some changes to the product, but overall, just the product itself is not that appealing. If they were able to maybe change it to other ways, I feel like that might be better. But I think the start decks are a kind of a hard product to sell in English. But I have been wrong. I honestly have been wrong. Because when I looked at History Collection, for example, I thought that was a pretty dead product. But I heard a lot of people really liked it. A lot of people were just driving around my area, going to every single shop, buying out History Collection because they just wanted the SP. So when I thought History Collection was going to be a pretty meh product, overall, I think like after a couple of months, people look back on that and they go, this was actually pretty cool. I actually liked History Collection. Maybe the ratios were a bit wonky, but as kind of like a first off reprint set for premium, it might have been good. So I think that's great to hear. I mean, Harmonic Messiah being $70 is not that great, but hopefully they print that out in other ways, or there's other ways to acquire them. But overall, yeah, surprisingly, I think History Collection turned out to be an okay product. And overall, like, the reprint sets this year have probably been like the best product that Bushiroad has released. Like Festival Collection, remember the first Festival Collection like last year? That was garbage. But the Festival Collection this year was actually like good value. A lot of the cards inside were just great to have. And in terms of like the reprint policy that everyone complains about, it's like, oh my god, it reprinted. You guys did a reprint, but the prices stayed the same. I don't see a problem in that, right? Because one, you cannot crash the market by printing everything to oblivion, and then no one supports your product. It is kind of a JP thing, but you can see it in English, right? When you look at, English sellers, why would I stock any Vanguard singles when stuff just crashes? So I feel like the reprint policy, although a lot of people hate it, I feel like it's necessary. And in terms of the reprint product, with a reprint policy like that, they all are pretty good, right? First, the Festival Collection, the Triple Drive set. I keep on saying Triple R. The Triple Drive reprint set has been doing great in JP apparently. So maybe Bushiroad has finally nailed how to actually make a reprint set. This could be the way to go for. Like History Collection follows the same kind of idea, just the number of cards inside is like way too much, right? So I feel like, now that maybe Bushiroad might have nailed how to do reprints, this just could be a way to go forward. And like every single time they release a reprint, there is definitely value in that set, right? Like the latest one, the Triple Drive Booster, Luhan is actually doing okay, right? And then the Bracing Angel Ladder Regalia has been really, really good. And then you have all those effect trigger reprints that just, are very, very good to come out that, we just get more of them. Like literally just get more of them. So that's the market for those are kind of going down because everyone can finally get more effect triggers. But it just, I guess like every single time they've done a reprint this year, I've been going, I've been kind of sitting on the fence about it. But then afterwards, when it's out, it's just been doing, it just does well. So I guess big props to Bushi there for nailing reprint sets, right? And I guess with products, I guess it's kind of that. I just hope maybe in the future for Divine Z, the product, I guess like, their ratios for the booster packs have been kind of iffy. If they kind of make them like slightly better, I think that'd be great. Bring back SPs, no more FFRs. I think that's where it should be. And then lastly, I guess the last thing we can talk about is like tournaments and events. And honestly, this is where Bushiroad usually is like weak at, right? Their events ideas have been pretty much as, well, you have locals, and then you got regionals, and then you got Worlds. So you have like 3 things, but nothing really happens much at all, like in between. And I feel like, you know, we're getting some more events next year. We saw some of the ideas, you know, that there's the booster release tournament. That's kind of a nice casual event. And then there's like Vanguard Day, which is supposed to be a hyper competitive event. So I'll be pretty interested to see what that means. But if there is just simply more event, especially at like a more local level, it just means more people have, you know, just have a reason to buy product, which is kind of important, right? Right now, you know, if there's not a big tournament coming on, why do people even bother? But now, if there is something happening, then people will have an excuse to do that and just buy things, and, you know, even just strengthen local things. I think that's where it should continue going, right? Right now, Vanguard or Bushu in general, the local scene is not that great. Let's strengthen that next year, and then after local scenes are strengthened, you'll definitely see even more players at those regional tournaments, more players wanting to go to Worlds, and it kind of creates a cycle of, like, you know, more players, which is great. That means more sales as well, which is also really good. So the fact that we're getting more events next year, I hope, is a good thing. They just need to focus more. I know, like, in Pokemon, for example, they got a league challenge every month, which is, you know, nice, but they have a league cup, which is like a bigger challenge that happens every quarter. So if you have like a scene like that where there's always something going on that's not just regionals, I think it's a great plus. Now, I know people have been talking about how tri-regulation is happening and it's the death of the game and blah blah blah. Springfest is gone. I think tri-regulation is fine. It's not going to be the death of the game. I think having new ways to play would be pretty interesting. I know people are talking about, you know, my team is gone, right? Because you know, only one player gets to get premium. I think for a year you can try it out and see how it is. Right, I think tri-regulation was big in Japan because for V and Premium, that they weren't really playing that. So, you know, let's try that. What's going on? It's like a fresh new format. I guess for the West, it's kind of different because we've always been playing every single format of Vanguard. So going to tri-regulation is a bit like, you know, I feel like we can figure out the decks pretty easily. But, you know, I think for a year it's fine. For 2 years in a row, maybe it's a bit iffy. Japan will be doing their second tri-regulation this year for Daivagasai, so I guess we'll be able to see the numbers on if it's gone up or down a lot, and it'll kind of give us an idea on if you want to ever run tri-regulation 2 times in a row. I do think having these kind of interesting tournaments is fine, especially for Springfest, because, you know, having a new way to play that is not like hyper weird, right? I think is fine. Right, I think it's fine. If it works out, it's good. If the feedback is bad or you don't like it, let them know, and they might just go back to a more traditional thing the year after, or they could just do like once in a while. There's a new kind of format to shake things up before going back to something more traditional. I think it's fine. So I'll be interested to see how tri-regulation works out for the West next year, because I did play in the JP one and it was relatively fun. But I think maybe for the West, it's gonna show some different results where, you know, if we're more focused, then we might just have the same 3 decks for like X months. So there's that. But yeah, I feel like it's important for Bushido to focus on competition at different levels, right? You know, you have the local competition, which is like fun. And you have the slightly higher local competition, which is, you know, people take it more seriously. And then you can move on to something like regionals, you know, things like that, where, you know, it's more of a, you know, serious situation. I think, honestly, the BCS product is just great. I think it's very underrated. So they should definitely promote it more. But they should definitely have top 8 best of 3. Top 8 best of 3 would be really nice to see. And also, I guess one thing I do want to say is I did stream at my BCS Sydney last year, and I think that was more of a kind of, how do you say it, trying to make something work, right? It was kind of scuffed at some points. But I did want to show that you can stream events. You don't maybe need the highest like production, but if you have a will to like, or just like a way to try and make something streamed at a decent quality, you know, without just putting on a camera and then putting on music and then like going to eat for the whole day. I think if you're able to put some effort like that, just a little bit, right? There wasn't like, you know, commentary or anything like that. For the stream, which I think is fine, but just being able to show off the games definitely gives just way more visibility to a game that is very, very streamable and very exciting to see. So hopefully maybe next year we get more streams like that. Maybe it doesn't need to be the high quality production, but it doesn't need to be like the low quality like webcam stuff that normally you get from 1996. Well, actually, maybe that's probably more like 2008, right? Because they didn't have webcams in 1996. Yeah, if you get at least some level of quality with some decent, I guess picks for games and all that, I think you have a very good stream in your hands. So maybe in the future they can do that, but that's just kind of that's kind of a me thing talking about it. But yeah, overall, I feel like Vanguard going to Divine Z has been pretty hype, right? A lot of people have been really happy about it, all that has been revealed. So I think Vanguard is going off in a great direction. 2023 has had its ups and downs, but I think overall it's been ups, right? Every time we say Vanguard is dead, I think Vanguard is very, very much alive. And going to next year, I hope it just gets stronger and bigger, and maybe can hang out with the big boys in due time, right? In due time. That's it from me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you all next time. All right, bye.